This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Shopify. Starting a business is a big deal, but Shopify does make it easier. All the tools you need to launch are already included and ready from day one. You can easily use Shopify's templates to get a stunning site up and running fast. No coding experience needed. And you can also customize it to fit your brand specifically. Shopify checkout means more customers actually buy, and returning ones can do it in a single click. Having your checkout optimized at launch is huge. You put so much into this moment, it needs to be ready to go right away. And if you do have questions, Shopify has a built-in assistant sidekick ready to help build, troubleshoot, and keep moving. There's no shame in asking your sidekick exactly what to do. All you need is the idea. Shopify handles the rest. Start your free trial at shopify.com/justice. Start your free trial at shopify.com/justice. That's shopify.com/justice.
Monday.com AI agents took over my work, and I absolutely love it. Chasing deadlines, writing status reports, updating stakeholders. Agents handle the daily grind now. I stay in the loop only when it matters. Create your own AI agent in minutes on Monday.com.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised.
My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today I'm discussing the case of Marquis Martin. In small counties, murder cases don't usually disappear into the noise. Drew County, Arkansas has a population of roughly 17,000 people. It's not a place where homicide investigations are so common that one unsolved case could easily get lost in a stack of others. In fact, Marquis Martin's murder has been described in local reporting as Drew County's only unsolved murder. And even the former sheriff, Mark Gober, once said that during his time as sheriff, he'd investigated 9 homicides, and Marquis's case was the only one that he wasn't able to solve. You'd think that that would make this case impossible to ignore, but somehow, years later, Marquis Martin's murder is still unsolved. And as Marquis's family searched for answers, an image connected to the sheriff's own son began circulating online, fueling public outrage, theories, and a level of distrust that would come to define the case almost as much as the murder itself. This is the case of Marquis Martin. It's just after 7 a.m. on Saturday, March 7th, 2020, right outside of Wilmer, Arkansas. As the sun begins lighting the sky, officers from Arkansas Game and Fish, along with the Drew County Sheriff's Office and Arkansas State Police, respond to a daunting 911 call. A body has been found in a local creek. By 9:40 a.m., they were identified as 26-year-old Marquis Martin and pronounced deceased by the Drew County coroner. An autopsy later conducted by the state medical examiner at Arkansas State Crime Lab ruled his death a homicide by a close-range single gunshot to the back of his head. But this wasn't the first time that Marquis's name had been called into law enforcement. By the time he was found in that creek, he'd already been missing for nearly a month. His friends, family, and community had been searching for him, pleading for answers, and trying to get someone to take his disappearance seriously. But to understand how we got here, let's go back to the night he was last seen. It was the evening of Sunday, February 9th, 2020. And while Marquis worked a part-time job as a teaching assistant at Drew Central Elementary School, on this night he was working his second job at McDonald's in Monticello, Arkansas. After his shift, Marquis is captured on surveillance cameras at the Murphy USA gas station directly next to the McDonald's at 9:21 p.m. But the timeline becomes a little more complicated after this, as many things in this case are, because law enforcement has been hesitant to confirm much, and we have a lot of conflicting reporting. Local News 7 reports that Marquis was last seen at that Murphy USA gas station at 9:21 p.m., while Monticello Live reports that he was last seen closer to 10 p.m. at his residence after his coworker from McDonald's gave him a ride home. Now, Drew County Sheriff Mark Gober has confirmed that a coworker from McDonald's did tell investigators that he gave Marquis a ride home that night, but he never confirms a time. And in an article written by Charlie R. Braxton for Medium, which was shared by Marquis's mother Lakeisha, he states that Marquis never made it home. Now, from what I can find, it seems that the larger questions surrounding these conflicting statements are whether or not Marquis ever made it inside of his home safely, and if we can trust statements made by the sheriff at all, which we will get into. So, like I always say, take that for what you will. What we do know is that the McDonald's Marquis worked at wasn't far from his home in Wilmer, Arkansas. It was less than 10 miles away, and at some point after he's seen on surveillance at 9:21 p.m., Marquis goes missing. On Monday, February 10th, 2020, Marquis misses his morning shift as a paraprofessional or teaching assistant at Drew Central Elementary. He's a no-call, no-show, which was extremely out of character for him. While we do have a lot of conflicting reporting in this case, one thing is clear across the board. Marquis cared deeply about this job and for the children he worked with. In his obituary, he was remembered as someone who looked out for kids in the morning while they waited for the school bus, making sure they were safe. He would even come to school dressed as Spider-Man just to make the kids smile. And he spent his own money sending out over 32 candygrams on Valentine's Day. He really sounded like the teaching assistant that any kid would be lucky to have in their class. And on top of all of that, Marquis was a dad himself. At this time, his son MJ was only 4 years old. And while the custody situation hasn't been spelled out in the media, it's clear that Marquis loved his son deeply, and no one who knew him believed that he would ever just abandon his son. Now, according to a press release from the Drew County Sheriff's Department, when Marquis failed to show up for work on Tuesday, a family friend reported him missing to the Monticello Police Department. From there, the Arkansas State Police, and the Drew County Sheriff's Office began investigating. But not long after that, Marquis's mother received a text message demanding a ransom for Marquis. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by BetterHelp. We talk about mental health more openly now, but asking for help can still feel hard, and BetterHelp's latest research confirms it. BetterHelp's 2026 State of Stigma report surveyed 2,000 Americans and revealed that 85% of Americans believe getting support is wise, yet 74% say society discourages people from doing so. I think it's important to talk about, especially how we can close that gap. If you're listening right now and considering getting help, please know that there's no shame in it. And if you're looking for a virtual solution, I definitely recommend BetterHelp. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform. They've served over 6 million people globally, with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. Don't let stigma stand in the way of support. Start therapy with BetterHelp. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/justice. That's betterhelp.com/justice. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you're a pet parent like me, you know about Chewy. And when they say that they have everything to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. They have food, treats, beds, you name it, they have it. And all of it gets shipped directly to your door within 1 to 2 days. Chewy also has top-tier 24/7 customer service. And if you or your pet don't love something, Chewy's 100% satisfaction guarantee lets you return it within a year, no questions asked. I've been shopping at Chewy for years, you guys. And while a lot of the country is celebrating summer, here in Phoenix we have to stay indoors more. Which means I have to get a little creative about wearing our emotional support puppies out. I just stocked up on a bunch of toys, puzzles, and things I can freeze to make sure that they have hours of enjoyment. For life with pets, there's Chewy. And right now you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahEterney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahEterney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahEterney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. Just days after 26-year-old Marquis Martin is last seen after his shift at McDonald's, his mother Lakeisha received the following ransom note via text. Quote, "This is to let you know that Mac was kidnapped by myself and my men, and we demand a ransom payment of $7,000 before we release him back to you alive. You are warned not to tell anyone or the cops about this, or he dies. Do not act smart. I am too old for games. If you want this done with peace, I'm cool with it. But if you were calling the cops in, I'm fine too. The cops are no threat to me, and I don't think I need to show you how dangerous I could be by hurting him. Choose wisely. I have my personal reasons for taking this long before contacting his family." End quote. Let's break this down a bit. Marquis was known as Mac by those who knew him best, so this was clearly written by someone who knew that. But whether they knew that because they knew Marquis or used this information to send this to Lakeisha as a cruel hoax is unclear. Because absolutely nothing happens with this text. Yes, you guys, in the big 2020, we have a text that is apparently untraceable to the sender. And that ransom text raises one of the most frustrating questions in this case. How could someone send a message like that in 2020 and not be identified? So I did some digging, and it looks like the issue may not be that the text left no trail. In fact, in 2020, most text messages were not truly untraceable. A traditional SMS message could leave carrier records, phone numbers, timestamps, and sometimes subscriber, device, or location-related data. And even app-based messages could leave behind metadata, account information, IP logs, cloud backups, recipient copies, or device artifacts. Now, if the message came from a prepaid phone, a short-lived device, a spoofed number, a texting app, or a gateway service, investigators may have been able to trace it only to a number, service, account, device, or general location, not necessarily to the human being behind it. So while it does seem unbelievable that a ransom demand sent in 2020 would not solve the case, the reality is that a digital trail is not always the same thing as proof. The message may have been traceable in a technical sense, but not traceable enough, at least publicly, to identify who sent it and hold that person accountable. All of that to say, this ransom text goes absolutely nowhere after Lakeisha reports this to Sheriff Mark Gober. But Lakeisha keeps going, she keeps advocating for her son. The first search for Marquis was held on Valentine's Day and consisted primarily of friends and family. They focused on the Wilmer area around Marquis's home. While Lakeisha did request assistance from the Drew County Sheriff's Department, specifically to send a team of dogs in to aid in the search, she said that Sheriff Gober declined. Lakeisha says that Gober asked her why they would even need dogs in the first place, while Marquis's cousin, Amber Colin, told KTVE News, quote, "I asked for the dogs, and he said the dogs would run themselves down. You know, like the dogs would be tired looking for him. And that was very insensitive to me. Nothing he was doing was sincere. He was not trying to find Marquis." End quote. While the sheriff's office has stated that they conducted a series of searches for Marquis as well, the details about those searches aren't publicly available. I couldn't find any news articles outlining them, no public calls for volunteers. It's really just a statement from Sheriff Gober stating that they conducted searches. And I really just want to lay this out for a second. We have a 26-year-old member of this community who works at the local elementary school, who has a young child in this community, someone who's been described as extremely dependable, hardworking, and kind. They just mysteriously vanish, and for some reason, this is not an all-hands-on-deck situation. Marquis's aunt, Pamela Lambert, who also worked for the school district, told Gabrielle Pfeiffer for KTVE News, quote, "After he became missing, every morning they would come in and ask where he was. There were some students that would just come in and cry. This shows what type of person he was, and not only to his mother or me. There were a lot of people that were affected by this." End quote. Either way, of course, we know that Marquis was found on March 7th, 2020, just not in the state that his loved ones were hoping for. Like I told you at the top of the episode, an autopsy later conducted by the Arkansas State Medical Examiner ruled his death a homicide. Marquis had been shot once at close range in the back of the head. and they did confirm that there were no other injuries to his body. Which, just speculation, makes me believe that his body was not in the water for nearly a month if they could determine that. But of course, I am not an expert. Now, it's important to note that the creek he was found in was less than 2 miles from his home. Some reporting says less than a mile away. And while we don't know exactly how he was identified, Sheriff Gober has stated that he believes Marquis was likely placed in the water after he was killed because they don't have a crime scene. And nothing was found at Marquis's home to indicate any sign of a struggle. The same goes for the creek. So what began as a missing person case became a murder investigation. But even after Marquis was found, the questions didn't stop. If anything, they multiplied. Where was Marquis for those 27 days? Was he killed soon after he disappeared or sometime later? Who sent the ransom message? And who found Marquis's body? We don't have the answer to any of those questions. And many people have pointed directly at Sheriff Gober for that, not only because of his cold demeanor towards Marquis's family and seemingly lack of action taken in the case, but because even before Marquis was found, rumors were circulating that his sons may be involved. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Quince. Summer always makes me rethink what I'm reaching for every day. Lighter fabrics, better materials, pieces that just feel good the moment you put them on and look effortless. That's why I keep coming back to Quince. They focus on high-quality essentials like breathable linen, soft organic cotton, and washable silk. It really is a great balance where everything feels elevated but also easy. Quince has beautiful pieces like 100% European linen pants, dresses, and tops with styles starting at just $32. And everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Basically, they work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. My summer uniform at this point really consists of linen. I'm either in a linen dress, linen shorts, or for a little more sun coverage, my linen pants. And of course, I'm pairing it with some sandals, my favorite Quince sapphire necklace, and my brown Italian leather bag that goes with everything. Elevate your summer wardrobe. Go to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Hers. Losing weight is one thing, but keeping it off is where it gets really frustrating. That's why Weight Loss by Hers now offers access to the FDA-approved Wegovy pill and the FDA-approved Wegovy pen. Wegovy is designed to help you lose weight and keep it off. If you're not familiar with Hers, everything is 100% online. They'll connect you with a licensed provider who will determine if treatment is even right for you. If prescribed, your medication is delivered right to your door. No insurance necessary. And it doesn't stop there. Weight Loss by Hers goes beyond medication by offering access to 24/7 messaging with your care team. And they have tons of in-app lifestyle and nutrition tips, like recipes, meal plans, fitness videos, sleep content, and more. If you're looking for a personalized treatment plan, I definitely recommend checking out Hers. Ready to reach your goals? Visit forhers.com/crime to get personalized, affordable care that gets you. That's forhers.com/crime. forhers.com/crime. Weight Loss by Hers is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit forhers.com. After Marquis's body is found in a creek less than 2 miles from his home, and his death is declared a homicide, the rumors that were already circulating about what may have happened to him only exploded from here. One of the most prevalent theories was that Marquis was held somewhere and tortured before he was killed. On July 7, 2020, when District Prosecutor Thomas Dean released a summary of the autopsy results to the public, he said he was doing so in part to address these rumors. He told Deltaplex News, quote, "There's no evidence of trauma to his body other than the gunshot to his head. It is unusual for me to release any information while an investigation is pending, but the amount of misinformation that appears to be circulating caused me to do so." End quote. But Marquise's mother, Lakeisha, has the full report, and she told Desmond Nugent with KATV that while she wasn't provided any photos with the report, it states that Marquise's fingers were cut off. So again, take that for what you will. I mean, even Sheriff Gober said that whoever did this, quote, just threw him in the creek like a dead animal, end quote. That was in the reporting by Desmond Nugent for KATV on the 1-year anniversary of Marquis going missing. A year later, there'd been virtually no progress in the case. Sheriff Gober says that his office interviewed over 45 people in relation to Marquis's murder, which he says is volumes more than they normally do for the other homicides they've solved. But he says that they were no closer to making an arrest. Sheriff Gober also says that he's followed the rumors in this case. Quote, "We followed so many rumors, a lot of them started by social media. If you were to come to my office and told me something, then I'm going to go pursue it." End quote. But what happens when a sheriff is confronted with the rumor that one or more of his own children may have been involved with the murder he's investigating? Well, let's dig into it. The rumors began very early in Marquis's case. Just days after Marquis was reported missing, a very disturbing image was posted on social media by Noah Gober, none other than the son of Sheriff Mark Gober. I have this image. It's a screenshot from Snapchat, and you can see Noah's full government name in the left-hand corner with a timestamp from 2 hours ago. In the picture, I see a brown stuffed animal monkey with its head leaning to one side, and a red bow tied around its neck. Over one of the legs is a blue blanket or a piece of fabric that's kind of crumpled up, and there's what appears to be white fabric that completely shoots out of the frame. The stuffed animal is sitting on a brown couch in front of what appears to be 2 windows with several coverings. There are blinds and multiple sets of curtains. To me, it almost looks like it could have been taken inside of a trailer or a camper, but that's just my best guess. So in short, we have a stuffed monkey on a brown couch. But near the bottom of the image are the words, quote, "Can I help you? N-word," end quote. Now, this has been confirmed to be a real post, even by Sheriff Gober himself. But to understand why this photo from Noah Gober was so concerning, outside of the blatant racism, we have to dig a bit deeper into these rumors. Which, up front, I want to be very clear, are just rumors. But here's what a lot of people in this community are discussing online. They say that Marquis was romantically involved with a woman who let's call Amanda. But Amanda was also romantically involved with a man named Ben Loveless who ended up going to jail. While Ben Loveless is in jail, Amanda allegedly gets pregnant with Marquis's child. According to an article written by Charlie Braxton for Medium, which again was later shared by Marquis's mother, there is a document asking the court to change the name of the father on the birth certificate from Ben Loveless to Marquis Martin. But I was not able to track that paperwork down, so take that for what you will. And you might be asking, what does this have to do with Noah Gober? Well, allegedly, and again, these are just rumors, he was close friends with Ben Loveless. So basically, Marquis and Ben are both romantically involved with Amanda. Amanda gets pregnant, Ben thinks it's his, but it's actually Marquis's child. Now again, these are just rumors, but I did see on Lakeisha's Facebook that they are working to get a paternity test for this child. So when Noah posts the photo of the monkey with that caption, this community understandably gets very upset and concerned that he may have helped his friend in some fashion kill or cover up Marquis's murder. To be honest, these rumors could be an episode in itself, but Lakeisha is very open about them. She posts screenshots of messages she's gotten from the community outlining some pretty horrific things. One of the most prevailing theories is that Ben ran Marquis over and later placed him in the creek with the help of Noah, and possibly another son of the sheriff or the sheriff himself. Now, you guys know me. I very rarely dig into rumors like this, but in this case, we have the sheriff also talking about them pretty openly in the media and addressing them himself. So I just wanted to give you the full context of what's being said in this community before telling you how Sheriff Gober responded. Deltaplex News reported that Gober addressed the rumor that he and or his sons were involved in Marquis's disappearance and murder. Gober denied everything and said that he believed the rumor began before Marquis's body was even found, after a former political opponent posted online about law enforcement not covering for family members. We've got another media battle here, guys, and it gets pretty heated. Sheriff Gober told Deltaplex News that one of his political opponents posted the following message that he believes pertains to his children. Quote, "As a law enforcement officer, but most importantly a father of 4 kids, I have learned that tough love is just that, tough love. I believe in discipline, and that a person of authority, such as law enforcement, should not cover up for their family members, much less their children. When one does so, it erodes the public's trust when these unfair/unjust events occur. However, the same people in these positions wonder why their trust is questioned. Stop covering up for your family. Support them without enabling them. 2022." End quote. And Sheriff Gober responded by saying, quote, "If my kids have contact with law enforcement, that's up to them. I don't get them out of trouble. I've never even gotten them out of a speeding ticket. He can say what he wants about me, but don't bring my family into it. And he picked the wrong time to make a political jab towards me in the middle of a murder investigation." End quote. So there is this very public media battle at this point, with even other members of law enforcement accusing Sheriff Gober of covering for his children. And it only gets worse when in early June 2021, the photo Noah Gober posted shortly after Marquis went missing is enhanced and begins to circulate even further. Because in this enhanced photo, people believe they can see Marquis under the blanket. His aunt, Marilyn Reed, told Desmond Nugent with KATV, quote, "It's clearly Marquis Martin's face. He looks deceased to me in the picture. It's clearly him. We wanted justice after it happened. We wanted justice 6 months later. Here it is, over a year later. We still want justice." End quote. So, they plan to protest for the following week. Members of the community, along with Marquis's family, gathered at the Drew County Courthouse in a peaceful demonstration to demand action be taken in the case. Even the mayor of Wilmer, Tony Perry, was in attendance. Leading up to the protest, she gave a few very powerful statements. Quote, "What happened to Marquis didn't just happen to Marquis. It happened to everybody. Everybody was in pain behind this. Everybody has mistrust behind this. Everybody wants to see justice for Marquis. We shouldn't be out here in the streets protesting. We should be sitting back, waiting for this thing to go to trial. At this juncture, we still have to protest and let them know that we're not going to stop." End quote. They specifically wanted a federal agency to investigate the case, and for Sheriff Gober to recuse himself.
For a number of reasons, more so to get Mark Gober to recuse himself from the case.
And I think it's time for them to bring the federal government in.
We want to see his killers behind bars.
You have any type of allegations against you, shouldn't be on the same case.
When Gabriel Pfeiffer from KTVE News reached out to Sheriff Gober for comment, he said he had no plans of recusing himself from the case because the rumors circulating about his family were completely false. He also claimed that the enhanced image that was circulating was doctored to show Marquis's face. However, I do think it's very worth noting here that in reporting by KARK4 News, they state that a forensic analyst was unable to determine if the image had been doctored or not. Again, we're in a small county of about 17,000 people. When Marquis's body was found, Drew County had the assistance of the Arkansas State Police. So why not call them in when the spotlight is shining on your family, creating a clear conflict of interest? I don't know. But we do know that Sheriff Gober didn't recuse himself from the case. But the community didn't stop demanding it. On February 14, 2022, a petition was created by a concerned member of the community, once again requesting that Sheriff Gober recuse himself in the case. The petition reads, quote, "In the small town of Drew County, whispers have grown to screams. I watch as a helpless but hopeful mother still searches for answers concerning her son Marquis Martin's murder, ruled a homicide. He was kidnapped, tortured, murdered, and was missing for 27 days. Sheriff Mark Gober's son is believed to be the killer by his own admission. The sheriff said his son made a mistake by using derogatory language in the picture he had previously posted with a large stuffed monkey using the N-word in the caption. In this very picture, what looks like to be a blanket is noticeably wrapped around an object, while the mother of Marquis Martin says that object is most definitely her son. As a mother, you just know some things, and she's positive that that little nose belongs to her baby. My point is, Sheriff Gober absolutely refuses to withdraw from this case that he and his son's friends, who are also the kids of other law enforcement/officials of this town, are being implicated in. If he truly thinks his son is innocent and has handled this case genuinely, then why won't he just step down and give the mother her only request? One crazy twist to this story is the day Marquis's body was found, Sheriff Gober was the first on the scene. That's not out of the ordinary, I guess, but the part that is relevant is that the family of Martin stated that they had already covered that area. To add insult to injury, the mom was contacted by a family friend that her son's body had been recovered during an active search. I'm mortified. Please help her. Hashtag Justice for Marquis Martin 333. End quote. While this petition didn't result in Sheriff Gober recusing himself in the case, and I couldn't independently verify what was being said in that petition, I think it's a powerful statement showing how a lot of people in this community felt. Then, less than 2 months after this petition was created, the rumors began to swirl again when Ben Loveless is arrested.
And we're live on match day as Doug reaches for a buffalo wing. He's got it! Oh, and he's gone for a can of Pepsi too! What a finish! There's no doubt about it. It just tastes better. Match days deserve Pepsi.
According to reporting by Joe Burgess for Monticello Live, at around 9 p.m. on Thursday, April 7th, 2022, Sheriff Gober responded to a 911 call from a woman who said that Ben Loveless poured gasoline on her and threatened to set her on fire. When Sheriff Gober and other officers got to the scene, the door was open, but no one was inside the residence. Instead, they found the woman inside of Ben's truck, which was stuck in the woods. She had bruising on her right eye that she said was from Ben. She also told them that he choked her until she became unconscious, poured gasoline on her, and tried to set her on fire. Then she ran to the bathroom and called police. And inside the bathroom, they could see that the shower curtain had been recently set on fire. But they did apprehend Ben Loveless, and he was charged with domestic battery 2nd degree and violation of a protection order on a second offense. And it seems that Ben Loveless just can't seem to stay out of trouble, because according to the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office jail roster, on June 5th, 2026, he was arrested on charges of kidnapping, aggravated assault, and terroristic threatening in the 1st degree. As of this recording, he has not been named a suspect or person of interest in the murder of Marquis Martin, but I have to hold out hope that Marquis's murder will be more thoroughly investigated in the future, because Sheriff Mark Gober lost his election in 2022 to a man named Tim Nichols, and Nichols did formally request that the Arkansas State Police take over the investigation. When he was first elected, Nichols told KARK4 News that Marquis's case deserves an investigation from a department that has the resources to do that. He also says that the FBI has assured him that they will assist in the investigation in any way that they can, but it doesn't appear that his request was honored. In early 2026, he released the following update. Quote, "Over the last 3 years in office, my staff and I have conducted many operations, interviews, and follow-ups on the homicide investigation in reference to Marquis Martin. However, no substantial evidence has been developed throughout the various operations. We have even tried getting further forensic evidence examinations done, but the labs in other states such as Texas stated that the results would not detect anything different. When taking office, I requested that the Arkansas State Police take over as primary, but that was denied by them due to the time that had passed. However, we have worked closely with them and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But unfortunately, the case has not developed any further evidence, which would result in an arrest or prosecution. With all of that being said, I want to assure you that we are not done and have some cell tower information in which we are sending to the Federal Bureau of Investigation in Quantico, Virginia for further analysis. This case has been built up on rumors and speculations throughout the years, even prior to taking office, and even since then. I want to express that while we want nothing more than to solve this case and bring justice to light, we cannot build a case on rumors and speculation. We must have facts. While I have my own personal beliefs on the case, those personal beliefs are not facts. Our system is built on the Constitution and rules of law in which we must abide. So please, if you have information, you can submit a tip on the APP and we will follow up on it. The fact is, someone out there in our communities or in our prison system is responsible for this homicide, and we want to bring them to justice. If we are not able to bring justice to this case while here on Earth, I know judgment will be cast and justice will be served in eternity. Sheriff Tim Nichols. End quote. And that's pretty much where the case is today. I have to hope that Marquis's family will get some answers with these new investigative measures. But of course, the question remains, what happened to Marquis Martin? Well, one theory is that Marquis encountered someone he knew after leaving McDonald's that night. Publicly, there are still questions about whether Marquis ever made it home, who may have seen him after the Murphy USA surveillance footage, and whether the co-worker who reportedly gave him a ride home had the full story. Now, to be clear, that co-worker has not been publicly named as a suspect. They're not even publicly named in the media, and I'm not accusing them of anything. But the uncertainty around Marquis's final moments is one of the biggest gaps in this case that we can't ignore. Of course, another theory is that the ransom text was connected to whoever harmed Marquis. The fact that the sender reportedly used Marquis's nickname makes that feel possible. But we've seen it before, you guys. It's also possible that the text was a cruel hoax sent by someone who knew Marquis was missing and wanted to exploit the situation. Of course, this remains another unanswered, very important question in this case. Of course, we have the theory surrounding the Snapchat image. Marquis's family has questioned whether the photo could be connected to his death, especially after they saw the enhanced version and believe that they could see Marquis under a blanket. Sheriff Gober says that the image has been altered and that his son has apologized for posting it, but the family has never accepted that as a sufficient explanation. And there's still a lot that's missing here. We don't have an official confirmation from an expert saying that that was a real image or a doctored one. We also don't know if they even tried to get the records from Snapchat, whether investigators determined where the photo was taken, or if the photo was conclusively ruled in or out as evidence. There's also the broader concern that Marquis's case was mishandled from the beginning. It's not a theory about who killed him, but it's central to why this case has remained so painful and controversial. Marquis's family and supporters have questioned whether bias, small-town politics, conflicts of interest, or a lack of resources affected the investigation. And then there's the disturbing history of Drew County, which I have not touched on yet. During Reconstruction, the Ku Klux Klan was active there, and voter intimidation became so severe that Arkansas's governor declared martial law in Drew County in 1868. The Equal Justice Initiative documents 8 Black victims of racial terror lynching in Drew County between 1877 and 1950. And in the 1920s, the Klan wasn't just on the fringes of Monticello. Historians have documented Klan members holding positions inside of city and county government, including the mayor, city council members, city marshal, sheriff, and other courthouse offices. In 1921, a Black man named Philip Slater was lynched in Monticello's public square after being accused of assaulting a white woman in Wilmer. That kind of history matters here. Not because it explains what happened to Marquis, but because it helps explain why fear and distrust run so deep when a young Black man is killed and the investigation is surrounded by rumors of racism, power, and protection. I think it's very worth mentioning here that in this love triangle, if you will, again, it's a rumor that between Marquis, Amanda, Ben, and Noah, Marquis is the only Black person and the rest are white. And this isn't a distant history. In 2015, Monticello Live reported that a Klan rally was held northeast of Monticello, where robed members burned a large cross. Then in 2017, community members in Monticello publicly denounced another Klan gathering planned for Drew County. This was a 3-day rally or retreat scheduled on private property, and there was a letter that was sent to the Drew County Sheriff, Mark Gober, saying that it would end with a cross burning. Around that same time, a local black family reported finding a noose hanging inside of one of their buildings. And when that 2015 Klan rally became public, Drew County Sheriff Mark Gober did not publicly condemn the group in reporting that I found. Instead, Monticello Live reported that he met with concerned Wilmer residents and asked locals to not go sightseeing near the rally area. 2 years later, when another 3-day Klan gathering was planned in Drew County, local reporting shows that the Klan leader sent a letter directly to Sheriff Gober notifying him of the event. But again, I did not find a direct public statement from Gober about that 2017 rally. So when people in Drew County talk about racism, fear, and distrust of local institutions, this isn't just about something that happened generations ago. The history is old, but it had very recent echoes. And it's worth noting that Marquis's family has had to endure rumors, calls, messages, and horrifying claims about what happened to him. Some people say he was kidnapped. Some say he was tortured. Some repeated graphic rumors about him being hung from a tree. Others claimed people connected to local power structures knew even more than they were saying. Now, I can't in good faith repeat those rumors as facts, but I do think it's important to acknowledge this history and the rumors Marquis's family has endured. Every rumor created another possible lead, another source of fear, another reason to wonder if someone in the community knew the truth and was staying silent. And when official answers are scarce, rumors fill that silence. But this family is not giving up. Marquis's mother is very active on social media. She posts screenshots of the messages she gets about these rumors. She goes live discussing them. And she continues to fight for justice. And Marquis's aunt, Marilyn Reed, spoke with ABC 7 News to say, quote, "As long as there is a tomorrow, as long as there is another moment, another minute, another day, we're going to hope." End quote. Which brings me right to our call to action. Please share Marquis's case. No matter what you think happened to him, it seems pretty clear that there are many investigative steps that were missed early in this investigation, and a brighter light needs to be shone on that to help prevent this from happening again. Also, if you're listening to this episode as soon as it comes out, you may have even more reason to share. Sheriff of Drew County, Tim Nichols, is up for re-election, and I went to his Facebook page. He doesn't have a single post about Marquis Martin, who he himself said is the only unsolved homicide in Drew County. That tells me that Marquis's case may not be a priority for him as he's running for re-election, but maybe some media pressure might help change that. And if none of that compels you to share Marquis's case, I'll ask you to share for his son MJ, who has now started speaking out about his father in the media. It's a burden that no child should have to bear. So please take a moment to share this case in hopes that his family get the answers they've waited far too long for. As a reminder, 26-year-old Marquis Martin was last seen on February 9th, 2020 in Monticello or Wilmer, Arkansas. His body was later recovered from a creek in Wilmer. He was black, 5'10", and weighed approximately 160 pounds. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Drew County Sheriff's Office at 870-367-6211. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. This episode contains writing and research assistance by Jessica Quaz. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the Secret After Show. The studio door is open and our emotional support puppies, Popcorn and Heber, are in the room. Let's go right into this case. The first thing I have on my list is how hard it was to make this episode, knowing that there may be a good reason to not trust Sheriff Gober. That is a personal opinion, and of course, like you saw throughout the episode, I did still include his statements. I did not omit them because of my own personal feelings. That didn't feel fair to Marquis. But I will say, it kind of felt like reading a book with an unreliable narrator, if that makes sense. Because I think in any case where there's somebody at the top of law enforcement, right, the sheriff, and his sons are directly being accused of murdering somebody in a case that he's investigating, that is a clear conflict of interest. So personally, I do think that he should have recused himself in the best interest of the case. And not only that, but because, as the new sheriff said, Tim Nichols, he didn't think that their smaller county had the resources to work it effectively. So I don't know, that was hard. I really did struggle with, how much of the rumors do I present in this case, right? Because you guys know, I take reporting on these cases very seriously. And that's why I said 5,000 times, I was like, this is a rumor, just to be clear, this is a rumor, because I never want to present something as a fact if I have not been able to independently verify that. But again, like I said, since we had Sheriff Gober, and I'll just say who I think is Tim Nichols, right? I really tried to track down the source of the quote. So the quote that Sheriff Gober mentioned in that article was not attributed to anybody but a political opponent. And when I started searching for it, I wasn't able to find it. But I will say the other person that was up against Gober and Nichols was this guy named Slaughter, which is so weird, right? And he basically didn't start running until after that article came out. So I'm 99% sure that quote, basically calling out Sheriff Gober, came from Tim Nichols. But I cannot say that as a fact, and I will not say that as a fact until I know for sure. So in short, I take these things very seriously, right? But when we have somebody running for sheriff, and we have the sitting sheriff addressing these rumors, I don't know how to tell you this story without telling you what those rumors are. So I hope that made sense. I hope you were able to distinguish fact from rumor when I feel seemingly obnoxious about it. But again, that is such a crucial part to Marquis's case that felt irresponsible to leave out. But let's go on to media discrepancies. There were, you guys, I found quite a few. Did Marquis ever make it home? Some articles don't even mention him getting a ride home. One says he never made it home altogether. But we do have that statement from the sheriff saying that, they have a witness who says that they gave him a ride. But I will say that overall, there's not a ton of media coverage in this case. And most articles do seem to report the same thing over and over again. And while we're here, right, shout out to Desmond Nugent with KATV, who I saw recently left the station. But I just want to give a little shout out because he very, very thoroughly followed this case. It was almost like every other article I found was from him. So just a shout out. I love these reporters who stick with a case. It's just really good to see. But that does bring me into our hero of this episode, and I have a few. One is the mayor, Tony Perry. She was another reason why I decided to go forward telling you guys about those rumors, right? Because she went to the protest, she's like, something's not right. The community is rightfully upset about this, and I love a politician who sticks with their community, goes to a protest, and just has their voice heard. I love that. Of course, I also have to name Marquis's mother, Lakeisha. She is the driving force in this case. She really seems to be the one who's pushing to get any media coverage she can. And of course, to not be afraid to speak out against that sheriff, which I can tell you can be terrifying. And really, shout out to this community for rallying around them. People were speaking up to the news, they were creating petitions, they were speaking out. This is a small, what appears to be, I know it sounds so cliche, right? But it appears to be a very tight-knit community, right? We have 17,000 residents, and people were upset. You guys, reading the quotes, about the kids missing him was heartbreaking. Every person should get an overwhelming, amazing response when they go missing. Marquis was a beloved teacher's assistant in this community. And as far as I could tell, they did almost nothing for him. So shout out to all the people who actually did. Even though it wasn't their job, I'll just say that. But let's go into our segment of hope. This is from People magazine from June 30th, 2026, and the title reads, 26-year-long investigation solved as human remains found at National Park, identified as man who disappeared in 1998. So it looks like human remains were found in Olympic National Park in 2000 and recently identified as Joseph Louis Sorrow Jr. Sorrow was born in Hawaii and went missing in Washington in 1998. DNA testing and collaboration with relatives helped solve the nearly 30-year-old mystery, bringing closure to his family. The article goes on to read, in July 2000, a researcher told local authorities that they had discovered human remains inside of a sleeping bag in a tent in a remote area. Those remains were sent to the King County Medical Examiner's office, who determined that they belonged to a man aged between 30 and 50 who died between 6 months and 4 years prior. It looks like they took items from the tent, they tried to get fingerprints, latent fingerprints, but they couldn't really lift any. So the case sits until 2024, when a forensic anthropologist submitted a DNA sample from them to Othram. Again, we have Othram making another solve. And the testing analyzed a broad range of DNA markers to identify potential relatives and generate investigative leads. He was positively identified in 2025, but for some reason it looks like the story's just coming out now. And while this article doesn't outline it, it does look like the family got answers. Because there's no active looking for anything. If you have information, we're gonna, please call here. We just know that they are calling the case solved because he has finally been identified. Which of course still makes our segment of hope. I don't think we necessarily need to know what happened to this man as long as the family is satisfied and we know that there's no ongoing investigation, no cause for the public to be worried. But of course, this makes our segment of hope because after decades, this family has some answers. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.